The need to be alone. Is it not a very strange thing in this world where there is so much distraction, entertainment that almost everybody is a spectator and very few are players? Whenever we have a little free time, most of us seek some form of amusement. We pick up a serious book, a novel, or a magazine. If we are in America, we turn on the radio or the television, or we indulge in incessant talk. There is a constant demand to be amused, to be entertained, to be taken away from ourselves. We are afraid to be alone, afraid to be without a companion, without a distraction of some sort. Very few of us ever walk in the fields and the woods, not talking or singing songs, but just walking quietly and observing things about us and within ourselves. We almost never do that because, you see, most of us are very bored. We are caught in a dull routine of learning or teaching, of household duties or a job. And so, in our free time, we want to be amused, either lightly or seriously. We read or go to the cinema or we turn to a religion, which is the same thing. Religion too has become a form of distraction, a kind of serious escape from boredom, from routine. I don't know if you have noticed all this. Most people are constantly occupied with something, with puja, with the repetition of certain words, with worrying over this or that, because they are frightened to be alone with themselves. You try being alone without any form of distraction, and you will see how quickly you want to get away from yourself and forget what you are. That is why this enormous structure of professional amusement, of automated distraction, is so prominent a part of what we call civilization. If you observe, you will see that people the world over are becoming more and more distracted, increasingly sophisticated, and worldly. The multiplication of pleasures, the innumerable books that are being published, the newspaper pages filled with sporting events, surely all this indicate that we constantly want to be amused because we are inwardly empty, dull, mediocre. We use our relationships and our social reforms as a means of escaping from ourselves. I wonder if you have noticed how lonely most people are. And to escape from loneliness, we run to temples, churches, or mosques. We dress up and attend social functions. We watch television, listen to the radio, read, and so on. Do you know what loneliness means? Some of you may be unfamiliar with that word, but you know the feeling very well. You try going out for a walk alone, or being without a book, without someone to talk to, and you will see how quickly you get bored. You know that feeling well enough, but you don't know why you get bored. You have never inquired into it. If you inquire a little into boredom, you will find that the cause of it is loneliness. It is in order to escape from loneliness that we want to be together. We want to be entertained, to have distractions of every kind. Gurus, religious ceremonies, prayers, or the latest novels. Being inwardly lonely, we become more spectators in life. And we can be the players only when we understand loneliness and go beyond it. After all, most people marry and seek other social relationships because they don't know how to live alone. Not that one must live alone, but if you marry because you want to be loved, or if you are bored and use your job as a means of forgetting yourself, then you will find that your whole life is nothing but an endless search for distractions. Very few go beyond this extraordinary fear of loneliness, but one must go beyond it, because beyond it lies the real treasure. You know, there is a vast difference between loneliness and aloneness. Some of the younger students may still be unaware of loneliness, but the older people know it. The feeling of being utterly cut off, of suddenly being afraid without apparent cause. The mind knows this fear when for a moment it realizes that it can rely on nothing, that no distraction can take away the sense of self enclosing emptiness. That is loneliness. But aloneness is something entirely different. It is a state of freedom which comes into being when you have gone through loneliness and understand it. In that state of aloneness, you don't rely on anyone psychologically because you are no longer seeking pleasure, comfort, gratification. It is only then that the mind is completely alone, and only such a mind is creative. All this is part of education to face the ache of loneliness, that extraordinary feeling of emptiness which all of us know, and not be frightened when it comes, not to turn on the radio, lose oneself in work, or run to the cinema, but to look at it, go into it, understand it. There is no human being who has not felt or will not feel that quivering anxiety. It is because we try to run away from it through every form of distraction and gratification, through sex, through God, through work, through drink, through writing poems or repeating certain words which we have learnt by heart, that we never understand that anxiety when it comes upon us. So, when the pain of loneliness comes upon you, confront it. Look at it without any thought of running away. If you run away, you will never understand it. And it will always be there waiting for you around the corner. Whereas, if you can understand loneliness and go beyond it, then you will find there is no need to escape, no urge to be gratified or entertained. For your mind will know a richness that is incorruptible and cannot be destroyed. All this is part of education. If at school you merely learn subjects in order to pass examinations, then learning itself becomes a means of escape from loneliness. Think about it a little and you will see. Talk it over with your educators, and you will soon find out how lonely they are and how lonely you are. But those who are inwardly alone, whose minds and hearts are free from the ache of loneliness, they are real people, for they can discover for themselves what reality is, they can receive that which is timeless.